You're listening to 101 with Tommie Zam. On the 45th episode, we sit down with Zach Moldof, owner of Skatebud, talking about skateboarding and life. Let's do this. Hey, what's up, Zach? How you doing?
I'm good, Tommy. How are you, bro?
Good. So where are you located at?
Right now I am technically in unincorporated Orange County, but
Okay.
I think like in general people would understand it as Orlando.
Yeah, a good old town.
Yeah.
So how you like living out there?
Oh man, I love it. I'm from Florida originally, and I went to college up here, 2000 to 2005. I lived in Orlando, and then I came back briefly in 2007 just for like a couple months. So I've had a lot of positive experiences here, and it's like a good fit for where my family's at right now.
Okay. And what part of Florida did you grow up in?
I grew up in Broward County, this little city called Weston.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually was raised in Florida. So
Okay.
I grew up actually in Pensacola, Florida. That's where I grew up at.
All right on, bro.
So
Panhandle.
yes, I know Florida pretty well.
Yeah.
And so growing up down in Florida, and in your era, what was it like? I mean, did you like get into a lot of sports and stuff like that, or
Yeah, my folks. Well, I guess my dad, like, he definitely pushed me to fucking try every single sport.
really?
So, like, yeah. And I don't know. I think the only one I was actually like any good at where like I would then like apply myself and take like any, I think like all kids, you're gonna naturally be like you have some kind of talent towards some kind of sport. Your body and your mind will work towards something. And I don't think like I had any kind of exceptional athletic ability, but I think I was just like a energetic kid. And I like in tennis, I feel like I kind of like it made the most sense to me at first, but even that I didn't like it. And my folks put me in like a tournament, and I did that tournament, and they went out of town when I did it. The
Uh-huh.
first the first round, and my grandma was there, and I just got whooped. They have like first round, first tournament, I had to play some kid who was like way older than me and way better, and it was just like I didn't care enough to be there, and then the dude was just like smoking me. And I was just like, I didn't cry, but inside I like wanted to cry. And I was like, man, I'm not going to go feel this again just to fucking play tennis. I don't give a shit. So I was over tennis. And then, yeah, like my dad had me play flag football, and he came out to a practice, and I tried to like get my dad. He was playing as the quarterback, and he moved out of the way, and I ran into a fence post and like
Oh
broke my nose.
shit!
Bro,
Damn.
I just like, like none of that. Like, I feel like it's just like normal kid stuff though. In the end, like you grow up and then you meet people, and people do all kind of like foolish stuff like that. But for me, sports was just like again and again, either it would be like, oh, this is so boring to me, or something would happen and I'd be like, oh man, like I just like it's not worth it to feel that again.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then skating came along later.
Yeah,
I was
okay.
like I was nerdy. I like going to the library. I like video games. I like comic books.
Who are you a big Marvel? Which one are you, a Marvel or DC fan?
Uh well, I liked Marvel more than DC, and then I got into Image, I think, and
Image.
Dark Horse at
Okay.
the time when like that's when but then once I got into skating, all that shit went out the window. It was just like, okay, I don't have time for any of that.
So how old were you when you got into skateboarding?
13.
13? Oh, do you remember what got you into skateboarding? Like playing video games, seeing homies skateboard, or
Yeah,
what?
it was just like, I was like a fucking scared little kid, and I was a follower. And kids in my neighborhood, I just did what they did. And one of the kids who lived down the street, his dad was a like an ex NFL player, and he was just like fucking just champion athlete. Like anything that kid would do, he'd just be like, oh yeah, like fucking yeah. And he's like, damn, bro, what the fuck? And then there was a couple other kids, you know, just on the street, and we were just like all around the same age, and it would be like, okay, now we're doing this, and now we're doing that, and then that dude got a skateboard, and then it was like, oh, now we all skateboarding, and then there was another dude on the street. He was adopted. He was black, and his parents were white, and they adopted like a few kids and had a few kids of their own, and he was just kind of like unsupervised a lot of the time and would hang out with older kids, and those older kids were skateboarding, and he got a skateboard. It might have been that he got it first, and then like the athletic dude got the board after, and then I was like, well, fuck, like, you know, like I don't want to be left out. And I was also like, something about it was really interesting. No, because fuck that, before they even got it, okay, that's what it was. This dude named JP, he moved to it wasn't even a city at that point. It was still just like a little unincorporated part of the county. And he was like French Canadian. And this was the first time I had ever seen a popsicle shaped board. And I was like, what the fuck? Why does that skateboard look like that? And he was like doing kickflips and shove-its. And I was like, what is this? You know, like, because I had seen like, you know, before that, like the neighbor dudes, like they got like the fucking like Powell Peralta, like Bones Brigade boards. And I got the fucking Veriflex board from the Kmart.
With the ants on it and all that?
Nah, mine was Waimea Bay.
Oh shit, I remember that board.
It was fucking, dude, all plastic trash.
Yeah, I remember that board. I think I had one of those before I got
before
I got my real board, you know?
Right, exactly. So I was like, oh, this isn't that fun. Like, whatever. I would like knee ride on that thing. I didn't know what was going on. None of us did. It was just like a thing, like another thing that you roll on. You know, it's just like, oh, we had like fucking pogo balls and all kinds of weird shit from the toy store. And then there was those. But then the popsicle board, I was like, well, hold on, you know, because I had seen like fucking, I remember seeing like, I don't know what movie it was, but it was some movie that had the Bones Brigade in it, you know, and those fools were fucking hopping around and like thrashing and slashing. And I was like, oh, that's cool, you know, but I didn't give a fuck about it till like, oh, that's cool. And I want that, you know?
Yeah.
But then this fucking kickflip and that shove it, bro. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Tell me more. And like, hold on, like, I don't understand. Like, what is this guy doing? What is this thing? He's like, his clothes are different, you know, he's like talking about art and like, what the fuck? Like, so it blew my mind.
Yeah, about to say it, but blew your mind. You're at what, 12, 13?
Yeah, I was probably about 12 at that point. Cause then I could remember asking for a board for so fucking long. Cause, you know, like it's weird. Like we were in this neighborhood that wound up being like a lot of people with money moved there, but like we moved there way, way early. Like there was nothing there. It was still just fucking like the Everglades, straight up. Like you walk out our backyard and it was the Everglades.
Did you ever catch an alligator by hand?
No, I didn't catch one, but they'd be like walking around the neighborhood, Florida panthers, like all kinds of shit.
No way. Seriously?
Yeah, bro. Any animal that you could imagine that was like out there, it would turn up and just be like in your fucking like your yard or your pool or in your front yard, like eating.
Have you ever jumped in a pool? Did you ever jump in a pool with the alligator, or about to jump in a pool and you see alligator in your pool, or what?
Not in mine, no. But that happened, yeah, like around the way. Like it was just like, but that's the thing. You don't just like be like, all right, we're just gonna go jump in the pool, because everybody knew it'd be like, all right, you gotta like there's alligators, there's everywhere.
Yeah, and you got water moccasins and shit like that,
right?
know?
Water moccasins, like alligator snapping turtles, like those are fucking super gnarly.
Yeah, because I remember like a long time ago they were talking about, I think it was Miami or somewhere around there. They had issues with like gators coming out of toilets and shit, and I was like, "What? Oh
goddamn! I don't know about that, but I could imagine." Yep.
They're living in the sewers and stuff like that and everything.
Right.
And I was like, you know, because I know when we were kids, I think the most craziest thing we seen came out of a sewer was a raccoon. Oh. And I was like, the biggest highlight of our neighborhood is a raccoon, and we trapped that raccoon in somebody's backyard and shit. You know, we were kids, you know.
Bro, this is making me remember now. For a while in my parents' house, like it would be like, bro, you go to sit down on the toilet and then a frog jumps out.
No way, a fucking
Straight up,
frog jumped out.
straight up.
You're about
Oh
to
man,
drop a load, and all of a sudden you hear ribbit.
right, bro. It was like ah, I'd hear my sister.
That's some funny ass shit right there, dude. I wouldn't
I
know what to
forgot
do
about
if
that.
I fucking seen a frog jump out of my shit, dude. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
fuck?
But it was like tree frogs. You know, they're
Yeah,
like the cutest, like they're harmless. You know, I mean,
yeah.
obviously it just swam through a fucking toilet, so you're not gonna you're not trying to fucking like pet it and like touch it, but like at least like shit, bro. I couldn't imagine like you go to sit down on the toilet and a fucking snake bite you, bro. You
Oh,
never fucking
or snake that goes between your legs out of the toilet.
fuck that.
Yeah, I would trip, dude. I'm like, what the fuck is this, dude?
No, that's not cool.
Nah, that's just that's scary. That's Florida for you, right?
Yeah, bro. That's it. Exactly, man. Like you're not separate from nature. It's not like nature and man. It's like, bro,
No.
we're just like we're mixed.
Yeah, we took over we're just invading their land because this is their land, you know?
It's constant. Like it's like just this constant. Like if you stop mowing the lawn in South Florida, it's not just like you're now in like a wild habitat.
Nah, I believe it. I mean, I lived down in Tampa, St. Pete area for a little bit,
Yeah,
and yeah, there was. I mean, I would see gators. You
bro.
know,
Black bears.
I haven't seen a black bear. I would love to see a black bear. That would have been a badass.
That was recent. Like I feel like some point in the last like 5 to 10 years, when I was talking to my parents, it was like, oh yeah, like there's people having issues now with like black bears, like just coming into the neighborhood. And
What?
this is like Matt, like mind you, like early on, like this shit was just normal because it was still the Everglades, and these were like you're talking about a couple houses dotted in there, and then now it's like it's developed, past that, and like there's more, so it's like it's even crazier that the black bears are coming in.
Well,
Whatever.
see, why they build? Why is the state of Florida allowed them building on Everglades? I thought was protected.
Well, right, like at this point it is, but like it's still like that land when it was initially developed, it's like you're crossing a line that's designated by the state, but the characteristics of the land don't really change.
Mm,
It's
okay.
right, it's still like wetlands, and like still like this area is still the habitat of those animals, and then over time like they just move over
Yeah, I mean,
or
they're basically
whatever.
like, "Yo, man, you're living on our property, man. We're gonna
Yeah,
take
bro.
over our shit, dude."
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And back a little bit. So you always want a popsicle stick, and and you wanted your parents to buy get your board and this and that. Did you have like a local skate shop you went to, or did you do mail order,
Yeah,
or
I
what?
went to well, I started getting the catalogs, right, before I got a board because
What was
I
it,
knew.
CCS or
Yeah,
CCS or
CCS
whatever,
and CSE,
something like that? Yeah. Huh?
California Skate Exchange, I think it was called. Um, yeah, and then I went to, Island Water Sports
Okay.
for, they have this sale called March Madness. No, the first time I went, it was for Hanukkah.
Okay.
I got my first board that like the year that I turned 13, so that was 1994. Uh, yeah, Hanukkah time. My dad was representing. I don't remember if it was like the dude who owned it or his brother, but from the family that owned it.
Okay.
And he was like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go. I'm gonna take you to this surf shop and get you a board."
Do you remember that first board?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it was Day One Song, like 725. It was a Mark McKee graphic of like a little kid in yellow pajamas, and he was chasing after a frog that was jumping away, and he had scissors in his hand, and there was all these other frogs with their heads cut off. It was like green and yellow and white and black, probably silk screened,
Hmm.
and had tracker trucks with yellow bushings and some 42 millimeter wheels.
Oh wow. Yeah, good
Yeah.
setup right there, man.
Yeah, bro. It was fire. Like everybody made fun of my trucks because I didn't have like the cool trucks at the time, but I didn't give a fuck. Like
What did you have, like Thunders or something?
Tracker.
Oh, Trackers are good trucks, dude.
Yeah, I mean, whatever they worked for me. You
Yeah,
know,
dude. Hey,
that was like the first encounter with that. Like, well, what the fuck you mean? It's not cool to have these trucks. Like, I can remember people talking shit to me about it.
yeah. Well, that's Trackers are always, it's just, Trackers have always been a popular,
Yeah,
because it's always been Indies, Ventures, Thunders, and Trackers. But back in the days, it was Trackers and Gold Wings. And then,
right.
Goldwings kind of turned into like Ventures, and Ventures not turned into it, but Ventures became Goldwings for the 90s. And then,
Mhm.
then Indies, became Trackers in the 90s too. I mean, Indies been around for a long time, but I mean, Trackers were legit, dude. I had a pair of Trackers.
Yeah, no, they've been around.
And then I had some Goldwing Street Shadows. Those were my favorites. Those were similar to Ventures.
Yeah.
But no, that's cool. And then did you have like a skate park around you guys you skated, or did you mostly skate street or what?
Nah, there was no parks down in South Florida at that time. And yeah, we just skated around the neighborhood mostly, and then there was like a plaza up around the way, or like two plazas. You know, it was like all like shit that you either skate to or ride a bike to. And those dudes, like, they fell off pretty quick, probably like a year or two. But
Hmm.
I stuck with it because I was like, oh, I was like getting videos and like loving the music in it and like reading magazines. Like, I was getting every single fucking magazine there was. Like, I would get subscriptions to all the magazines. They would come, I would read every fucking page, like tear the pages out, pin them up, like dubbing tapes from the fucking videos so I could listen to the music over and over. Like, I was hooked, bro. And then there was from that the black dude on my street, Brandon, he was hanging out with this other group of older kids that were from our little area, but they had a car.
Hmm.
And then well, they didn't have a car, they had licenses, but none of them had their own car yet.
Okay.
Right? So they would like all borrow their parents' car, and like maybe once in a while we would go out and like skate some spot in another like, oh shit, we're gonna drive like downtown and go skate like on the weekend. Like, this is fucking crazy. And then those dudes fell off too, because then when they got their own cars, it was just all about like finding girls, having sex, like partying, and then like skating a little bit. And I was still like, I was more hooked.
Hmm.
But then when I got my own car, then there was a skate park that opened. It was called
And
SFX.
okay, yeah, I remember that. And
Yeah.
and so like you're saying that your skate scene that you grew up in was a kind of like a just a small skate scene, and it was just kind of like fizzled out.
It was towny as fuck, right? And like it was like it reinforced a lot of the like worst fucking aspects of like southern machismo, fucking white racist bullshit,
Hmm.
right? And it was like I didn't care about all that stuff, and I was willing to endure it. Like, these fools just fucking make fun of me all the time. Like, I'm the
Yeah.
only Jewish one, and it's just a fucking bunch of white dudes, and then there's this one black dude who's around sometimes. I don't even want to say what they called him, like his fucking
Nah, they don't
nickname.
need to
You
say
know, you can
that.
imagine, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, it wasn't cool. And even at that time, I was like 13, 14. All right, so like 14, 15. I was like, I'm not going to call him that. His name is
Yeah,
Brandon. That's his name.
yeah.
Like,
Sorry to interrupt you, but
anyways,
did you
yeah.
feel that, like, being Jewish and living in Florida or South Florida, that it was a lot harder for you?
I didn't think it was at the time. It took a
Mhm.
long time for me to understand it, but fuck yeah, it was. When I meet
Just
Jewish people from New York, Jewish people from California, it's like the outlook that they have and the experiences that they have. I'm like, man, I never knew anything like that. Like, not even close.
mm,
Like the idea of safety, and just kind of like Jewish people are accepted and are a part of this community. I remember when we were fucking kids, man. they put up Hanukkah decorations at one of the malls because it was the holiday times,
Mhm.
and some woman protested that it was offensive to her Christian faith and made them take it down.
What?
And they took it down. Like that was normalized. You know, there's bro, my fucking teacher in high school. I wound up going to a Catholic high school because our local
Mm.
public school was shit. And I was trying to get into a proper college, which like didn't even wind up happening anyways because of other shit. But my teacher in high school was like, "Oh, we're in chemistry class." I was like, I might smell a gas leak. And she was like, "Oh, you're just scared to get gas like all the other Jews."
Are
And
you serious?
the whole class erupts in laughter. Like that was for me, that was normal though. I didn't realize that was even foul until I went home and told my dad, and he like nearly fucking exploded.
That's fucked up to say. And how old are you? You were like what, 16, 17?
Yeah, 15, 16, maybe
Yeah,
17
that's
at that
fucked up.
point.
Yeah, because I went to, I mean, I'm Jewish myself, and I remember going to, when my parents, when I was old enough to go to school, like a K4, K5, no, was it K4 or whatever? And and so my parents put me in a Christian school, or my mom put me in a Christian school just for better education or whatever, and and they were torture to me,
Damn, bro.
and so they took me out, and then my mom put me in a Catholic school. And yeah, I mean, that was fucking hell, dude, being in Catholic school. I remember one time it was, they were talking about Hanukkah. So, they knew, the teacher knew I was Jewish, and, I brought in some latkes and, what was that? I forgot what it's called. Not the urinal, the spinning top.
Dreidel?
Dreidel, yes. I had a brain fart.
Yeah.
So I brought all that stuff in, and dude, I got made fun of as fuck, dude. And like, and it was horrible, dude. It was the most
Right.
worst experience I ever had. And I got teased by the Catholic kids,
Right.
you
Right.
know. But when I went to public school, it was fine. Nobody gave a fuck.
Right. Exactly, bro. And then I eventually found this like through going to that SFX skate park, I connected with other people from other parts of town, skaters
Hmm.
who weren't white, and those fools were way more accepting. And that's not to say like there were there was a couple people out of that crew, like my townie fucking crew. Like there was one brown dude and then like two other white guys, and we would hang out a lot more than with the other guys. And I continued to skate with them, but like the majority of that crew was just like fucking, you know, just negative.
Yeah.
And connecting with these other skaters, it was just like it was liberating in a whole other kind of way, because now it was like, oh shit, like going and like traveling all over the county with these dudes, going down to Dade County, like just going everywhere, and like just having a different view of life.
Hmm. And it's true. I mean, skateboarding is it's very accepted, to all race and color and gender and whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, and also too, there is some racism skaters out there, but I mean, but they're not gonna be in your face and this and that, as a normal person, racial person out in who's a non-skater.
Right. No,
And
right. Like,
and what skateboarding is great about it is that we see each other as one. Hey, you ride a board, fucking let's go skate. You know what I mean? Like we don't care
exactly.
who you are, or like shit. I mean, there's times that I mean, I remember I was like what 18. I had like 14-year-old kids like jump in the car with me. We take them go skating. You know what I mean? Like it didn't
Right.
matter, because they were like, oh shit, I get to skate with these guys. Hell yeah.
Right. No, always. Always. And then right, like after I found that initial crew of homies, then like there was a later crew of homies that got integrated, and those fools were younger, and I would go and pick them up. And it would be like, like I was coming with my car, like picking up all the fools, or like we meet up at the skate park, and now it's like we're all just gonna go out, and then a lot of times just like go back to my parents' house and fall asleep there. Like and like eat up all their food and like swim in their pool and do all that stuff. And my parents are cool and they don't mind it, you know,
Yeah. Oh yeah,
and
that's
they're
right.
not over there tripping. And like, it's just like a bunch of different individuals that got together over skateboarding. It's
Yeah.
great.
And then did your parents accept you being a skateboarder and everything? Were they cool about it? Your dad left you off on the sports and stuff. It's like, hey, you know what? You're just skateboarding. I support that.
Nah, I feel like, now looking back on it, at the time I couldn't understand it because I felt like it was so inconsistent. Like it
Mhm.
would be like sometimes they thought it was good and sometimes they thought it was bad. I feel like my mom supported it and my dad did not, if I had to guess. I haven't asked them this directly, but
You
some
should
just
ask
like
them. You should ask them directly. You
yeah.
know.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't really thought about it like that until now, just because some little stories had trickled down over time and like,
Mhm.
okay, like, and just, yeah, understanding like now being an adult and being able to separate like my relationship with my mom from my relationship with my dad as not just my relationship with my parents. And yeah, I do think that, yeah, my dad fucking, oh man, he like, I think there were moments where he was able to see the benefits of it
Mhm.
when I was younger, but for the most part, he was like, "Oh, fuck you, a fucking skateboarder in my house, piece of shit." Like,
He wanted you to be a lawyer or a doctor or something. Huh?
oh, he wanted me to be a lawyer.
Oh, really? Well, hey,
Period.
that's hey, that's all Jews are good lawyers, man.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, like I think just like all people in my house, my dad's house, are supposed to be good lawyers. If he has any.
Your dad's a lawyer?
Yeah, I mean, my dad is, and then my two younger sisters both became lawyers and married lawyers, and then like my cousin became a lawyer.
So you're like the black sheep of the lawyer family, huh?
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, for a long time, I was like definitely the black sheep, but I think things have definitely turned around because of skateboarding.
Mhm.
Like, and I've made a different kind of career now that, like, it's funny. My dad does have a lot of respect for me now for what I do, because for him, it's like he became a lawyer because he was just like this oppressed Jewish kid,
Mhm.
getting fucked with by cops and principals and bosses and like just authority figures anywhere. Like,
Mhm.
oh, Jew, I'm gonna fucking press my thumb on you until you squish and see what happens when you pop. Like that was his take on growing up.
Yeah.
And for him, the solution was to become a criminal defense attorney and then be able to go and fuck with cops and say, like, ultimately, like, if you come at me and fuck with me in a way where you think like you're just a person and you can get over on me like another person, I'm now part of this institution that will fucking crush and destroy you, like random citizen, random authority figure. Well, you're fucked now, so stand away. And then if you're a cop, like, I'm coming to take your fucking dignity.
Mhm.
Like, he had this fucking vendetta. He had a sword and he sharpened it and he fucking used it.
Mm. That's
And like there's positives and negatives, right? The sword
yeah.
cuts both ways. And for me, it's like I've tried to learn and take what I can from him. And it's like a large part of what he got out of doing that is being able to say, well, when I do this, I help other people in circumstances like mine. So what did he do? He didn't become like a corporate lawyer to get rich. He's a
Mhm.
criminal defense attorney and he's helping drug dealers get off. He's helping drug smugglers get off. He's helping murderers get off. But these are all people who are getting these labels thrown at them, not because it's who they are, but
Mhm.
because it's convenient for a system that seeks to say, here's an authority figure ready to smush you. Let's see what happens when you pop.
Mm.
You know? So
Yeah.
like to me, that's the same thing. Like that's what I do is, well, if I had to find a way to make a career for myself when nobody else is gonna hire me, because everybody thinks I'm a piece of shit, you know,
Really? Why you say that?
I don't know. Like something like whether it's people looking and knowing that I have a criminal record that starts when I'm a fucking kid
Hmm.
because cops that wanted to fuck with my dad, right? Or whether it stems from anything else, like whether it's just the way I present myself. I've just never been able to get hired. Like
Mm.
I don't get interviews, like I apply for jobs and like it doesn't work out for me in that way.
Hmm.
So I've had to like it's like, okay, either I will continue to work in restaurants like for the rest of my life or sell drugs or make my own legitimate business. And, like I've made a legitimate business, but like just because I make a business doesn't mean that I get to get paid.
Yeah.
Like I have to like really do something to get paid. I have to create value in this world. So like the value that I create is changing the circumstances of society for people like me, people who
Hmm.
are disenfranchised. And it just so happens that, the majority of our society has come to place a premium on that right now and say like, oh, if you're helping disenfranchised communities, then like how can we get behind what you're doing?
Mm.
And that has caused municipal governments that have a lot of money that's always allocated for this stuff to start getting creative about how to spend it. And they've spent it on skate parks, and then they've seen that the results are transformative. So that's made a lot of opportunities in skateboarding, you know? And like I'm lucky to be here and be part of it, but I'm not going to take money from the pot without using it to help like a young kids who are like me, like maybe going to wind up doing something bad for money because
Hmm.
no one's going to give you a job,
Yeah.
right? And
I mean,
like,
it's true. I mean, because I remember when I tell this story all the time. I remember when I was skateboarding in Pensacola. I mean, when I was skateboarding in Pensacola, young age, I think I was like probably like 17, and we are skating at this elementary school, and this cop rolled up, big old good old boy rolled up, and was a freaking dick. And and I turned to him. I said, "Look, man, would you rather us be on the streets and doing selling drugs and being a gang and shooting people up?" And he looked at me straight in the face, no blink or anything, no smile. He said, "No, give me a reason to shoot you." I was like, "Wow." I said, "That's pretty
yep,
fucked up, dude." And that's what I told him. I said, "That's pretty fucked up, dude."
yeah,
you know?
man. But you know what? I'll say at least that dude in Florida, that dude is straight up, and that's what he'll fucking say. In LA, I feel like that dude, like he's like, oh, I'm not gonna say it that way. That's too honest. In LA, they're like gonna say it in a more slick way. In New York, they'll say it in a more slick way, but they're still doing that same shit.
Well, in Florida, they're freaking good old boys. They don't give a fuck,
Right.
because I'm always like, I don't know, man. I have problems with cops, man, and I just don't deal with
Yep.
them. Never. I've never been in trouble, arrested, or in jail or anything like that. But
That's good, man.
I've ran through so many of them harassing me and profiling me and this and that. And I just yeah, also being a skateboarder too, dealing with their bullshit and threats and stuff like that. It just kind of like rubs you the wrong way.
Yeah, it's right. I think also now, like, it's different. Like, for young people now, the interactions with police are certainly not like our normal is not their normal, right?
Yeah.
Like,
'Cause
um,
now they got skate parks. This new generation, they got skate parks. When I was growing
and
up,
cops who skate, there's cops who grew up skating. Like, there's so
hmm
many things, there's so many ways that it's just, I think it just gets hard for people to understand, like, wait, what? Like, like, bro, cops would put their hands on us
yep,
in South Florida. I don't know if that was normal where you were, but it was like, oh, we caught you skating here at the school. You're trespassing at a school to skateboard? Fucking grab your ass, throw you against the car, fucking pat you down so aggressively it's like maybe it'll leave a bruise, you know? Like, and that, bro, that was not like a one-time thing. That was just like we took that to be like, all right, this is the cost of entry for, like, you, when you step on the board and you go to skate the spot, it's like, we know at the least, like, we have to tolerate that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, if we get seen here, that's what's going to happen. Okay, we're ready.
You got one person. You got one person looking out. And you got the other person skating and filming. And once you see that cop, boop, boop, you just run.
Oh man, we knew not to run. We learned that, bro. Not
But
at least not where
we
we
always
lived.
ran, dude. We always ran, jump fences, like
Yeah, no, not
gone.
where
You
we
know?
lived. We ran at other places, but not where we lived.
Oh,
Because there was
really?
just nowhere to fucking go. Like, there's like the spots that we would get caught for skating at, there was no way out. It was like, once they saw you, like, that's it. So
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
whatever.
Pensacola, they're a bunch of good old boys. They're still good old boys up there, man.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, I was up there not too long ago, and yeah, dude, I still got pulled over just for driving. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it won't change.
Yeah, because I had a California plate, and so they didn't like that fact I had a California plate. They thought I had drugs or weapons or something because they just pulled me over and they'd be like, "Oh, your tent is too dark," and blah blah blah. So no, it's street. It's street right. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, dude.
It's fine. And they're like, "Whoa, whoa," and then they'll ask 50 questions and look in my car with my windows down. It's like, I was like, dude, whatever, man.
Yeah.
I know what you're doing, man.
Yeah.
But
Man,
nah, it's just crazy. You know what I mean? Like, people don't understand, like, skateboarding in Florida is a whole different level out there. I mean, yeah, we got to deal with heat, fucking shitty roads. You know what I mean? I mean, we had good spots, but the roads be shitty, And
yeah, I don't know if it was like this where you were at, but we also, like, you had to deal with like fucking vigilante citizens, like just fucking random rednecks that are gonna pull up and be like,
oh yeah,
skateboarders, we don't want you here.
yeah, we would have to fight them. They would try to fight us.
Yeah, I don't remember like any physical altercations with outsiders. Like,
Yeah, the rednecks up in Pensacola, man, they hated skateboarders
we
and
ran. Like,
punk,
rednecks came, we ran
they
for
hated
sure.
skateboarders and punk rockers,
Oh yeah,
And
dude.
that was all up there in Pensacola was skaters were punk rockers were skaters or surfers,
Yeah,
But,
yeah, yeah.
but they fucked with us so much, dude. I remember getting in a fight with them so many times, dude.
No fun.
Yeah, but I mean, like you said, this generation doesn't understand it. You know what I mean? They're never ever going to experience something like this, something that I experience or you experience or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the bullying is still happening, but right,
Oh,
it's like I think there was like this normalized idea of like, these people are vagrants, like they're doing stuff that's deviating from what is okay, and we need to like terminate it. There's definitely still people experiencing that today, but it's not like, I don't feel like it's necessarily being directed at fucking kids riding skateboards. Like,
no, I mean, because back then, I mean, they saw us as criminals. We were criminals.
yeah,
But I think now skateboarding is now accepted because now there's more skate parks. It's a newer generation. Your generation now has kids, and you know what I mean, and they're teaching that, and my generation's the same way too. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I mean, now it's accepted. Now you got X Games and skateboarding's on Olympics and blah 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 blah. It's more accepted now.
Yeah, it's different.
It's too different to me, because I'm not used to it. I think it's a good thing because I mean it gives out more people buying skateboard products. You know what I mean, and support keeping skateboarding alive.
Yeah, I think at the base level, it's definitely good. It's just
Yeah.
the only thing that makes it become problematic is when it's not like, when you see that the cultural innovators who made things what they are still alive and are still here and are still like capable, but are not being included, and are
Mhm.
not being given the means to participate. And it's like, people are standing on their shoulders to reach for things that like they're simultaneously denying to folks. I think that's the only part that I look at that and say, like, well, have to make sure there's work being done to preserve like the cultural heritage. It's like, it's great to see it expand, but it's like, man, if you just go and build a skate park in a place where people can't get skateboards, then like, we know that's no good, right? Like, who's that going to serve?
Yeah.
Right. But then it's like, if you really take a step back and think about it, well, okay, if people have a skate park and they have boards and they can go online and see all the tricks and the videos and stuff, but then they don't have the means to connect with like any of the cultural norms that we've developed here that go along with it, right? Where it was like, the people who made all that stuff that you're doing, they were outsiders. They were not accepted in a system that was telling them you're no good.
Mm-hmm.
So then they were here and they were left to just accept one another and accept everyone who came and support each other. I wonder, like, if all these benefits that people talk about from skateboarding will actually be preserved if we're not doing equal work to preserve the cultural heritage, to preserve the context that makes skateboarding produce these results.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely know what you're saying. And I'm gonna go back a little bit. So you went to Orlando for college and everything, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And does that helped out your skateboarding a lot better? So moving out of your town to going to a bigger city, you think that helped your skateboarding a lot?
I don't know. I think, like, no, honestly, if I think about it, like, if anything, like, it helped me grow as a person, which ultimately like led me away from skating when I was in Orlando, because I didn't have that, like, the community of people that I had access to in Orlando. It's like they were friendly and they were welcoming,
Mm-hmm.
but our life experiences didn't resonate in the way that it was like with that core group that I found at SFX in South Florida, right?
Yeah. It was more cliquey. It was more cliquey, cool guy thing in Orlando more.
No, it wasn't cliquey and cool guy. No, not at all. Like, people were really accepting, and like, it was like friendly and it was great. It just, like, it wasn't my people,
Yeah.
like,
It wasn't your homies you skate with every day,
right. Like, those weren't my brothers.
Yeah.
It's like these people that I had skated with, like, our life experiences were very similar, like the way we grew up, we experienced similar things. So it's like, when we're going out skating, like, the experience was very different.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to just say it how it is. And it's not like, this is not to like say it for a negative reason, but it's like, when I came to Orlando, it was mostly white people that I was skating with.
Mm-hmm.
Not all, not all white people at all, but it was like the people who, like, I could go skate with on a day-to-day, that were like the closest circle of homies, like, they were white, and like most of their homies were white. So it was like a mostly white skate scene.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that for me, just, it was like, it lost kind of that the electricity, where it was
So
like,
you're saying, like, you were used to skate more with a minority group of people, where you felt like in Orlando it was just like you're just shredding with a bunch of white people with not many minority in that group.
yeah. And I didn't understand it really at the time, because it was like, as a Jewish person, I didn't even get that, like, yo, like, I'm not white. It took a long time for me to really understand that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, looking back and the reasons why, it's like, like, skating was still totally at my disposal. It just was like, I was just going out skating alone, right? Or like going out skating with a group of people that, like, the fools who I skated with, that I liked skating with, like, they were talented. It was great to go out and skate with them. But then it wasn't like we were like like I wasn't having conversations with them about the music we were listening to and like other stuff. It was just like skating. Skating was the overlap that we had.
Mm-hmm.
And these other homies that I grew up with, it was like, oh, like all these other kinds of overlap. But it's just the nature of it too. Like, you know, you go from the place that you're from to a new place. But yeah, like Orlando, it has a curious skate scene.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's really strong. There's a lot of skate history in Florida. I think it's nowhere near as visible as it is big.
Yeah. And you
Right?
want to, and you also too, I saw something too that you want to do like, you want to save the architect of skateboarding in Florida. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I'm working with the state and doing a mentorship about the preservation of skate architecture and skate culture. And like in the process of doing that, I'm creating a like an archive to just
Okay.
show like how many skate spots there are in Florida, whether those are skate spots that people know and love, or whether it's just like a fucking box or a ramp that's at someone's house, you know?
Mm.
Because I think that Florida's skate heritage is not necessarily as accessible to people as it could be. And I have the opportunity to do this because I'm working with the state. So to me, it's like, well, let's move towards a future, right? Where skateboarding, like I'm saying, it's like the culture is being preserved. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't preserve the architecture, then the culture can't take place,
So,
right? Like,
sorry to interrupt you, but so when you say architect of skateboard culture, like what example? Like a like the famous rail. I'm trying to think of some of the famous rails in
well, there's
Florida, but
right. So there's like the synagogue rail and the
yeah,
cheesecake hubba, and there's that another hubba that's like off of 75 or the turnpike or somewhere down in like North Dade County. There's like all kinds of there's the Maitland Banks, there's Kona, there's the Bro Bowl, there's Skate Park of Tampa. There's all kinds of notable architecture, right? But like what I'm talking about at the base level is just like, you know, skaters need the right obstacles to do skating,
hmm
and they need the right ground to do good skating and fun skating. And like when cities are, instead of banning skateboarding, enabling skateboarding, if they build shitty architecture that doesn't enable skateboard culture to take place, then we're actually worse off,
hmm
right? Because then like what's happening here in Orlando that I've noticed, kids will grow up here, they're seeing parks from California on Instagram and on the videos. These are kids who don't skate, right?
uh-huh.
They're seeing all this and then they're like, oh yeah, we don't have parks like that here. This just isn't a skateboard place. People don't skate here. If people do skate, they don't skate really, not like that.
But I mean, there's Orlando Skate Park that got closed down.
No, it's still here. It's
Oh, it's still
just,
there?
you know, it's like it is underfunded and overcompensated.
Really?
Is there, bro? There is a like 15-foot fucking vert wall in a tremendous bowl. There's maybe like 3 people who live
Oh,
here that can skate that. You know, like there's so much of the. It was supposed to be like a street forward park, but plus this thing was built in like 2004.
hmm.
You know, like it's out. It's just so outdated. It's severely outdated. There's
Yeah, because
whatever. There's other stuff that's coming, and like there are a number of parks that Orange County operates. They could be they're great sites. They're just overburdened with too much. Like, you know, you're talking about like prefab obstacles
it
that
doesn't
have a
work.
very low usability to someone who says like, I am a skateboarder, I know what's going on here, I've been to a
Mhm.
lot of places before I came to this skate park. You know, you show up to something like that, it sends a message.
Yeah. Because I remember I mean, I remember living in Tampa, St. Pete. I mean, we always gone to Orlando because there's such good skate spots. And, you know, and we would meet. We would go up to Galactic G and hang out there with Kenny G and all that stuff, and then then we go hit the streets. Meet up with some of their team riders, and then go hit the streets of downtown Orlando and stuff like that. And I just always
Yeah.
remember Orlando having good skate scenes and a lot of good skaters out there. But it's just
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy to know that I've been to the Orlando skate park for a demo out there. I think it was the Creature Crux demo or something like that, and
Uh-huh.
it was pretty cool. But I mean, it's sad that you tell me that now it's just run down.
Well, it's not run down. Originally, that park, like what they built was like very far off from the design and like
Mhm.
even from the allocated square footage. Like there's a bunch of square footage that's there that's allocated for the park that just didn't even get paved. So it's just
Yeah.
grass. It's
Mhm.
like they like a lot of money and resources went into building a huge fucking bowl that's you know, like has a very low level of usability when you start talking about how many people around here can skate that.
Yeah.
There's no place to learn. Like there's no mini bowl where you're going to learn, and then there's like a medium bowl, and then there's a huge bowl. It's like, okay, here's a huge one. Go.
Yeah. And I remember there used to be I don't know if it's still there. I think it might have closed down. There used to be an indoor skate park there that was run by a bunch of skaters that built it.
There was Metro. Now
Metro.
there's Central Florida Skate.
Oh, okay. I remember Metro. I've been to Metro quite a bit, and I love that park, man. That park was so fun.
Yeah, I never went. It opened after I left, and then when I got back here, like the indoor parks had not been a priority for me.
Oh, yeah, that sucked. I mean, that park was fun. I remember that park, dude. It was definitely cool. But it's cool what you're doing. I mean, have a lot of this state politicians are involved? Are they really hyped on it, or what you're trying to do?
Yeah, yeah. I actually connected with this Florida legislator, Anna Escamani.
Hmm.
She's she's here in Orlando. She's great. Like she's very vocal. Like she's very much like she's about what she's about. You know, like
Hmm.
she's fucking like she talks the talk and walks the walk, and is not afraid to like really like I don't know. I respect her level of conviction. I'm not sure how to say it without like using bad words, right? And
I know
like
what you're
using more
saying.
like street talk, but it's really like she is what she says she's about,
That's
you
right.
know? So like it's been really cool to connect with her because she she's someone who's networked with a lot of like-minded people in the community who are like they're not just like trying to talk about anything. They're trying to do stuff.
Hmm.
They're trying to get things accomplished. And it's cool. Like that has led to a lot of positive interactions. We've had a lot of success also with libraries.
That's
You
all right.
know, libraries have been one of our best points of entry. But like the Orange County Parks Advisory Board has been really receptive. The Orlando Mayor's office has been really receptive.
That's all right.
Yeah, there's other like action groups that I'm working with here, like Alliance for Truth and Justice.
Hmm.
That's like some folks who are a little bit older than me, but like very connected and invested in a lot of kind of social justice issues in the community, and have been doing this kind of stuff for a long, long time. You
And
know,
it has the Florida Orlando skate community supported with you, or you have like is it half and half?
I don't know. It's tough to call it. Like, I do think that like there's like the visible Orlando skate community, which is centralized around the shops, um, and that's been mostly positive. There's one dude who like really went out of his way to fucking just tell me to like pipe down and that I'm a victim, and like just had said that I'm spreading
Pipe down.
hate and like promoting negativity, and
Honestly, I don't
he
see. Like, well, talking to you, I don't see you saying
yeah,
anything negative. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it sounds like. I mean,
he
why would?
has it whatever, he has his ideas, and he claimed that he was speaking for people in the skate community. But, like I've said, it's like I haven't encountered anyone that seems to agree with what he's saying except for him. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean the skate community here has been supportive, and it's also cool to like I think at first I had a lot of shitty interactions at skate parks with like just younger skaters. Like, to me it's like I'm at the park, you're at the park, I'm saying what's up,
Hmm.
you know? And like just with younger skaters acting like they were cool to say what's up or like want to take off their headphones and like have any kind of conversation. And like, I get it. Like if you're at the park and you're in your zone, you're in your zone. But if we're two people here at the park for an hour, and in the whole course of that time, you're just trying to isolate yourself and like not have any kind of interaction with me, it's like, well, the skate park's not a place for that. That's
Hmm.
not the norm here for this environment. That's not the norm for skateboard culture. And it's like, if that's the kind of isolation that you need, then I think the expectation in skateboard culture is that you would be like, hey, what's up, homie? Yeah, I'm just trying to like mind my business and like I don't want to talk to anyone right now. Cool.
Yeah.
Right on. I respect that. We're all here to respect each other. But it's like giving that vibe of like, hey, I'm not going to have the decency to let you know that's what's going on. And I'm going to leave you in the dark as to whether or not I think you're a piece of shit or like I'm just don't want to talk right now. I feel like it was hard for me to figure that out because that's not even the norm in LA.
Hmm.
It's like fools might want to try and be like they're on some too cool shit, but people understand like just the social standards of being at the park.
Yeah.
It's like yeah.
And you keep on saying LA, so you travel back and forth from Orlando to LA, or
A little bit. Like the plan when we originally came out was that we would be back and forth more, but for now we've just been like mostly here, still getting some work done there, and yeah.
and you said is that you and your homies, you and the
Oh,
girlfriend?
me and my wife,
Oh, okay.
and my son. My wife is from LA, and like a lot of her family's still there. So
She likes LA better, huh?
no, just different. I think she's kind of frustrated with it right now and having a hard time with a lot of things that are going on there. So especially as parents, it's just not an easy time to raise a kid in that
Yeah,
city.
LA's a whole different. I live in San Diego. I like San Diego better. I mean, I've never been a fan of LA.
Yeah, different
I'll
city.
go up there for events and do our TSM live show up there, this and that. But I once everything's done, everything's done, I'm so happy to jump in that car and head 5 south. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
back to sunny San Diego. But I mean, but I stayed in Florida. I went back to Florida for a minute, and I don't know, man. It was, to me, my heart's always going to be Florida because that's where I was raised. All my life. But for skateboarding, it's great. I'm stoked that there's a lot more skate parks getting built there, and the skate scenes all around in these small towns and stuff like that are growing and stuff like that. But if you want to be, and there is pro skaters that live there. There's ex pro skaters that live there, this and that, and it's
yeah,
cheaper. But I mean, it's just, to me, if you don't live in Miami, if you don't live in Miami, there's not that much going on for skateboarding, for event wise and stuff. I feel like, once Tampa Pro and Tampa Am's done, you're like, damn, what's there to do? There's no more really big events going on.
yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens with skate, but there's a lot of stuff we got in the works. So
And, 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 and tell me a little about Skatebud. I'm very interested in that. I mean, I really want to know more about Skatebud.
yeah, it's like we are focused on skateboard accessibility and like the different forms that takes, whether that means you're someone who's never skated and you want to get into it, or whether that means you're someone who's been skating for a long time and you've never met a pro skater and you would love to like get some advice from a pro skater, and everything in between.
Hmm.
Like this there's so much that is not accessible right now, and we are in a society and in a larger culture that assumes that we have access to everything.
Hmm.
And we have access to a lot of things, but we don't really have good access to skateboarding in terms of the technology. So,
And what made you start Skatebud?
um, again, just like having trouble finding work, coming to a point of being self-employed in the music industry and like being burned out and not wanting to continue. My wife had a solid job at the time. This was 2017. We knew we wanted to have a kid, so it was like, okay, we got to find a way to start our own business and be self-employed because it's going to be really hard to manage having a kid and having an employer.
Hmm.
And we started a magazine, a marketing agency, and that worked out a little bit, and then it was just fucking impossible to continue, and we adapted it to become Skatebud because that was the best parts of the work that we were doing, through the connections and the magazine and being in touch with skate companies. We were able to do all these events and do giveaways, and we linked up with Parks and Recreation and the LA mayor's office, and then we were like, okay, like this is the business we want to do.
Hmm.
And we've built Skatebud around that, and then also being parents. Like, how do you make skateboarding cool for someone who's a parent and needs to teach it to their kids? So it's like,
Hmm.
got to take it's like, do I still smoke weed? Yeah. Do I lie about smoking weed? No. Do I hide it? No. Do I put it on the Skatebud Instagram? No.
No.
Right? Like, it doesn't need to be there. It doesn't need to be part of our brand.
Hmm.
Right? But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like, do I want a brand that like walks the line in the way that a skateboard brand walks the line? Of course. And are there ways to do that without using bad words and things that aren't okay for a kid who's like 5 years old? For sure. And like that's what Skatebud is. Skatebud is like all the like best parts of skateboarding that your parents would be okay with.
Yeah, it's like we're your skate buds, so we're gonna talk to you and hang out with you, or talk to you about skateboarding, or you know what I mean, give you advices because we're your skate
Right.
buds, we're
Right.
your homies, skate homies.
And if we come to the party, like the party is going to be really like it's going to be more fun. And you want the skate buds to come when you have a party, right? It's not like we're not making we're still skaters, right? It's like we're skaters first, and then it's like we're creating the technology after that. We're making the
Mhm.
technology work for skaters. We're making programs with government that work for skaters. We're, preserving cultural heritage in a way that works for skaters.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love that. I see what you're doing for skateboard. I think that's pretty rad. I mean, I swipe through, check out, see what you're doing, check out the website, stuff like that, and everything. And I like it. You know what I mean? It's cool.
Thanks,
Because
man.
you're giving these kids, these upcoming kids, something different. You know what I mean? Somebody they can talk to. Like, hey, I'm your skate buddy. What's up? What you need? You know what I mean? Oh, I need to know how you do this trick or how you do that. It's like, oh yeah, this is what we do.
Right, exactly. How do you put together a board? How do you pick a board? Like, who invented the ollie? Like, how did people start doing skate videos? Like all this kind of, just this shit that like kids ask, man.
Yeah,
Like
I think it's rad. And I'm gonna go back a little bit. I heard you say you were in music, so you're a musician.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I did like, but I wasn't. Yeah, I was making music, but my work in music wasn't me being a musician.
Okay, so were you like
Right.
a producer? Did you sing?
No, no, I was like doing branding and marketing stuff for people
Oh, okay, okay, cool,
and
cool,
journalism, like writing about music.
dude. That's rad, dude. You have a lot of good experiences. From
Thanks, man.
growing up in a small town in Broward County, and then it's getting into skating, then going to Orlando, and getting your life together in Orlando, and then going to LA. And you met your wife in LA or Orlando?
I did. I met her in LA. Yeah.
Yeah, you met your wife in LA and kid, and you wrote music and this and that, or not write music, but you're a journalist and this and that, and
Yeah, dude.
and now you're back in Orlando doing skateboard. I mean, basically you're killing it, and
Oh,
and
thank you, man. Thank
you're
you.
definitely doing a lot of good stuff. And and to what I'm gonna say is, you're doing what your dad wanted you to do. You're not doing the lawyer stuff,
Right.
being a lawyer, but in a way you're taking the law in a different way of skateboarding. You know, you're going through the city to do all this stuff,
Right.
and your dad sees that, and it was like, wow, my son's not a lawyer, but he's doing the right way of doing things. You know.
Right. Instead of changing the outcome one by one, I'm trying to get in there and change the policy or change what the city builds so that the kids never get arrested in the first place, and never like, right. I appreciate you for saying and for recognizing that, because I do feel like it's taken time, and like I'm 41, I'll be 42 this year, but like I've worked hard and been
You say
patient
you're
for like
22?
42. I'll be
Well,
40.
40s in the new 20s, right?
Yeah, right, dude.
So really you're 22. I'm 27, so you're 22, you know?
Straight up. Yeah. But it's like I always wanted to just be able to like come back to Florida and bring something with me.
Mhm.
Like the reasons why I left was because I felt like we weren't connected to all these things down in Broward. And we weren't. And the internet has kind of changed that in the time that I've been gone, but also not. So it's like I feel really lucky that, I went to LA and like I met all these people who are like, man, like they made skating what it is. And like they're my homies. And I can call them up and ask them, like, hey, do you want to be involved in this and that? Do you want to come to Florida? And then I go to the skate park and I'm there and like fools are listening to music. And I'm like, oh, I know those dudes that made that music. And I know the dudes that they ripped their sound off from too.
You know it all, right?
I mean, I don't know it all, but it was weird yesterday being at the park with these kids who are younger and being like, shit, man, like I sound like I'm like some dude who just wants to be like, oh yeah, like I know that guy, I know that guy. Like, oh, you're listening to that music, I know that guy too. But it's like whatever. It just felt like it was true that day.
Hey, that's rad. And before we take off, I got one last thing
Yeah.
to ask you, and actually this is your going to be your closure. Anti-Semitic. What's going on with that? What's your opinion? Because you got Kanye West going out there saying stuff. You got all these celebrities saying stuff. Slapboard, you know, doing their thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is your closure. I want to, your opinion on anti-Semitic.
Yeah. I took the all last year and I said, like, all right, I'm gonna just confront every instance of anti-Semitism that I find. And I'm gonna just be like relentless, you know? Like, and it did lead me to like learn a lot about the things I was feeling and like the things I was experiencing and the history behind anti-Semitism and the way it works. And at this point, man, I think it is so deeply ingrained in our society from so many angles to dehumanize and put down Jewish people, and then further to deny them any agency in any degree of self-determination. So any time that a Jewish person says "I am" and then says something of anything afterwards,
Hmm.
the response in America is to undermine that statement, whatever it is. And I don't say that to levy an accusation against anyone or like to label people anti-Semitic, but I think that an anti-Semitic bias is so ingrained and anti-Semitic agendas are so ingrained into so many aspects of our society that most people cannot help but perpetuate anti-Semitism unless they are genuinely informed and like mm, deeply connected to the humanity of Jewish people,
Hmm.
right? So it's like you got to know Jewish people and you got to like know about anti-Semitism or else you're going to be a part of it. And that doesn't exempt Jewish people from that either. So, I think that extends to skateboarding in like it just mirrors it's right if we're talking about percentages, like what percentage of Americans are doing anti-Semitic shit and that percentage is the same as what percentage of skaters in America are doing anti-Semitic shit, I think. You know, I don't think it skews any higher. I think the skateboard industry is just an industry that has historically given a lot of credence to individuals who want to be antagonistic,
Hmm.
right? Like antagonism is celebrated and anti-authoritarianism is celebrated. And unfortunately, a lot of those anti-authority narratives are directly tied to anti-Semitic propaganda.
Hmm.
A lot of the like, you know, the conspiracy theory stuff that circulates in skateboarding is directly tied to anti-Semitic propaganda. So I think indirectly skateboarding may skew a little bit higher because skateboarders place a premium on signifiers that have a very intertwined past with anti-Semitism.
Hmm.
So I think that, like, I guess to sum it all up, like, anti-Semitism is very real. It doesn't feel good to experience it, and it puts Jewish people at real risk. And the Jewish people that it puts at risk the most are the ones who are the most visible. And you're talking about then it's like some old Hasidic person who is like walking around having a yarmulke on, dressed up in a way that looks Jewish to people. Those are the people getting attacked. Those are the people experiencing violence. Not someone like me who's walking around and like looking like, oh, like if you spit on me, I might punch you in the face. They're walking around looking for someone who's like, oh, if I spit on you, you might fall over. And those are the Jewish people getting attacked. So I think if people are not willing to ask themselves, like, hey, do you want to be part of that? Then, you know, they should really pause and consider to what degree they want to talk about Jewish people.
Hey, and that's good. Hey.
Man, that was long, but
Hey, no, that's why I said you're the closer.
yeah.
And what and where can people find Skatebud at before we head off?
Just skatebud.com. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a social media, YouTube, anything like that?
Yeah, on Instagram, skatebud, replace the U with an underscore.
Oh yeah, dude. Well, guys, man, check Skatebud out, follow them, share them, tell people about it. Zach, thank you so much for coming on. Hey, and what you're doing, oh, dude, I'm so stoked on what you're doing, man.
Thank you so much, Tommie. I really appreciate you inviting me and like giving me the time to talk all this shit about the stuff I'm doing. And yeah, thank you for your support.
No, keep on doing it, man. I love what you're doing. Well, you take care, man, and hey, go shred today in Orlando.
All right, likewise, bro. Be well.
All right, man.
Peace.